This is Weapon Station 4. I'm Sergeant First Class Hadisol. I've got Specialist Gonzalez, Sergeant Workman, Sergeant Sanchez. All right, they're going to be my primary graders. I also got Sergeant First Class Golden, Sergeant First Class Dorn. All right, they are additional graders as well. However, come tomorrow, the next day, they will be their respective station NCOICs. So here we got the M240 Bravo, the M240, or excuse me, Lima. The M240 itself will have two parts. You need to receive a go on both parts to be an overall go for this station. All right, so part one, we got maintaining M240. Part two, operating M240. Oh, you're done? Okay. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with part one, maintaining M240. Task: clear, disassemble, assemble, and perform a functions check on an M240 machine gun. Condition: you are a member of a team that has just returned from a mission and you have been directed to conduct maintenance on your machine gun. Standard: correctly clear and disassemble the M240 machine gun, matching the parts with the correct nomenclature labels within 3 minutes. Correctly assemble and perform a function check on the M240 machine gun within 3 minutes. Clear and perform a function check will be performed in sequence. All right, so when it talks about the nomenclature labels, on test day, you're gonna have a board that's just like this. Those are your nomenclature labels, all right? So the first step will be maintaining M240. The candidate, you're gonna start in the standing position. You'll be given a countdown with the stopwatch, 3, 2, 1, go. And then you'll begin disassembling the weapon. All right, so the first task is going to be to clear that weapon. So you'll point the weapon in a safe direction, ensure that the weapon is on fire. Once you confirm that, you will take the charging handle, charge it to the rear, return the charging handle to the forward position, and then place the weapon on safe. All right, so the M24, when you guys were at the M249, they have you guys hold the charging handle to the rear and then manipulate the safe? All right, it's opposite for the 240, so keep that in mind. 240, M249 is opposite. With the 240, you will not manipulate that safety unless that charging handle is in the forward position. Everybody tracking?
Nope.
All right. So once you return the charging handle to the forward position, put the weapon on safe, you will open the cover assembly, and then you inspect, lift the feed tray, ensure no ammunition is present. No ammunition is present. You will then close the feed tray and cover assembly, place the weapon on fire, take the charging handle, pull it to the rear, depress that trigger, and ride that bolt forward. You can then go into disassembly. Disassembly does not have to be in sequence. All right, so the first thing you do is take that buttstock and buffer assembly and remove it. All right, so let me see that. If you're not familiar with the M240, the buttstock has this little button right here on the bottom. You're gonna press it inward and up, and then slide it up and remove it. Next, you got the driving spring rod assembly. So you're just gonna push that in a little bit and then pull it out. All right, then what I recommend, the next thing you take off is the trigger housing assembly. All right, I recommend taking that off first. You're gonna remove that rear pin. All right, and then take off the trigger housing assembly. Then take that charging handle, charge it as hard as you can to the rear, remove that bolt. All right, the way I recommend doing it that way, so that way you don't set the sear on that trigger housing when you charge that fucking weapon backwards. That makes sense, everybody? All right, it'll cause you issues down the road if you do that. All right, next you're gonna take off that cover assembly, so you can take the buttstock or something near, begin to slam that pin out. All right, so the pin should be in there from right to left. So when you remove it, you should be pulling outward to the right. Go ahead and remove the pin. All right, so if you notice his hand, where he's got his hand in place on the cover assembly and the receiver, he's squeezing that cover assembly and the receiver together to loosen tension on that pin, to make it easier to pull out. Once you pull it out, you can then remove the cover assembly along with the feed tray. All right, next they're gonna remove the barrel assembly. So they're gonna take, on the left-hand side of the receiver, there's a button. Just take your palm, press it in, slap upward on the carrying handle, and then remove the barrel. All right, do not pull the trigger on that carrying handle. All right, you will not be able to remove the barrel. And then you remove the heat shield. So at this time, they're gonna have the weapon completely disassembled. All right, there's 8 different weapon parts groups. So you're gonna have your barrel assembly, the receiver assembly, the driving spring rod assembly, the feed tray, the cover assembly, bolt and operating rod assembly, your trigger housing assembly, and then your buttstock and buffer assembly. All right, those are your 8 different groups. So on test day, just like he did here, you're gonna find that nomenclature label and place that weapon part either above or below that label, all right? Then the candidate, you will return to the standing position, and that is when your time will stop. All right, so everything you guys just saw, the clearing, disassembling, You have 3 minutes to do that. I promise you, it's plenty of time. All right, 3 minutes. Your next step is going to be to reassemble the weapon and perform a functions check. All right, so again, you're going to start in the standing position. 3, 2, 1, go, and then you begin assembling the weapon. Again, it does not have to be in any sort of sequence. All right, so they're going to secure the barrel. Make sure that carrying handle is parallel with the front sight post when you slide it in. You're going to slide it back. Take the carrying handle to the right. You should hear the clicks. Put the heat shield on. Next, secure the feed tray. Then the cover assembly. With the cover assembly, make sure you take the front end of it first. Kind of press it into where it sits. Hold it there while you slam on the rear end of it. Then you're going to take that pin, again, from right to left. You're going to put that pin in. Next will be the bolt and operating rod assembly. All right, make sure the top of the bolt, all right, you have your 2 fingers in there, making sure it's parallel, so that way you just set it on top of the rails and then let gravity do the work. Next, they're going to take the driving spring rod assembly, slide it in. You have to push in with a little bit of pressure. There's a nipple on the bottom of it. Just make sure it sits in the little groove. Next, I recommend taking the buttstock, not the trigger housing, so it's backwards this time. I recommend taking the buttstock and placing that so then you don't run the risk of that spring rod fucking shooting back out at you. Next, you take the trigger housing assembly. All right, and the pin goes in the rear hole of it. Once the weapon's assembled, you will then take the charging handle, pull it to the rear, return the charging handle to the forward position, put the weapon on safe, attempt to pull the trigger. The bolt should not go forward. Put the weapon on fire. Take the charging handle, pull it to the rear, and then you will depress the trigger and ease the bolt forward. The final step for part 1 will be to attempt to close the ejection port cover. All right, not all of them close, but as long as we see that you attempt to close it, we'll fucking count it. You will then return to the standing position, and that is when your time will stop. So for reassembly, performing the function check, that's another 3 minutes. Everybody tracking? All right. And once you successfully complete that part, we will move into part 2. Part 2 is going to be operating an M240. Task: clear, load, fire until a stoppage occurs. Perform immediate action, expend remaining ammunition, unload, and clear an M240 machine gun. Condition: you're a member of a team conducting combat operations. You have a stoppage while engaging targets with your machine gun. Standard: correctly perform all steps in sequence within 30 seconds. All right, so for this, the starting position will be in the prone, not touching the weapon. All right, you're gonna have a belt of ammunition in front of you. The first thing you're gonna do is clear that weapon. So ensure the weapon is pointing in a safe direction. You're gonna take the charging handle, charge it to the rear. Return the charging handle.
Hold on.
Return the charging handle to the forward position. Place the weapon on safe. You will then take the cover assembly, open it. You will lift the feed tray, ensure that no ammunition is present. Once you do that, lower the feed tray. You will secure your belt of ammunition. All right, brass to grass, and place it on the feed tray all the way to the right, using your knife hand to hold it in place. Close the cover assembly. All right, once you do that, you will put the weapon on fire and engage your target.
Bang, bang, bang.
Bang, 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 bang. A stoppage will occur. You will perform immediate action, which will be pull the charging handle, observe around, eject out of the weapon system, push the charging handle forward, and then squeeze the trigger.
Bang, 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 bang.
You will expend the rest of your ammunition. Once the rest of your ammunition is expended, you will then clear and unload that weapon system. So you take the charging handle, charge it to the rear, return it to the forward position, place the weapon on safe. And then you will open the cover assembly. All right, and then you will again remove any brass or fucking links that might be present. Lift up the feed tray, ensure no ammunition is present inside the barrel or inside the receiver. Lower the feed tray in the cover assembly. Place the weapon on fire. Pull the charging handle to the rear, and then ride that bolt forward. And again, your last step will be to close that ejection port cover. Once you do that, your time will stop. So 30 seconds to complete all those steps. All right, so let's say on test day, or even on your practice days when you're actually using live ammunition, you fire, you get a stoppage, you do pops, and then a round doesn't eject out of that weapon system. All right, if that happens, you will immediately move into your clearing and unloading procedures. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, so if no round comes out of that weapon system, when you conduct your pops, just turn the charging handle forward. All right, and then move into, do not engage. Just move it straight into clearing that weapon. Make sense? All right, and then as long as you properly do that, you'll still get to go. Dragon? All right, any questions at this time? None whatsoever? All right, so we've got 3 weapons here, 1 back there. There's some weapons in that tent. That tent as well for you guys to get some hands on. There's pictures here and over there. But from now until it's time to rotate,